Hey folks, Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a round 4 summary playtest 5 of the Global War 1939 series. The Germans are getting in position to circle Moscow, and the Japanese fleet over here is still sitting off the coast of Australia. There's about 22 boats there, and sometimes the naval base or the ability for Navy to move 2 versus 3 spaces is a big deal. And they could not reach New Zealand, so combined with the British and the Aussies, they built an escort carrier and a cruiser. And the American fleet stayed put over here, and there was about 16 units there. So the Japanese fleet is still bigger, but it cannot reach the Americans and it cannot reach the Australians. So a little bit of a game of cat and mouse happening here. The Americans built 2 carriers, a couple destroyers, and a submarine. The Canadians, with their transport in British Columbia, came down and dropped off. Actually, they're over here. They are in Hawaii. So they're getting a nice tan there in Hawaii. The Japanese little navy off of Tokyo here, they've got a Yamato battleship, a cruiser, and a couple destroyers and 4 transports up there. And the Japanese are starting to get wealthy. They've taken Sumatra, they've taken Borneo, and they are prepared next turn to gobble up some of the more of the money islands, or perhaps the Philippines, as they branch out into India. They have wiped out almost all of the KMT forces. They went into Szechuan with 4 units, killed a couple of KMT, and the KMT came back and liberated it. So we'll see what the Japanese can do next turn. You can see there's not a lot of forces left here on the mainland of China. And I made a mistake last turn. I actually forgot the Japanese had gone into Burma, so they actually closed the Burma road. So that would have negated an NO bonus for the KMT of 5. So that's a lot of money for the KMT. However, the CCP is still doing quite strong. They are building up, but they are being slowly pushed back. The Japanese retook Korea, and the Russians, they've just got a token force there. So not a lot, basically they're just occupying spaces, not enough to attack anything. It's really going to be up to the CCP now to at least maybe play a little bit of ping pong with the Japanese. The Japanese still have their naval transports, a damaged battleship here off of Calcutta, which will be repaired next turn at the naval base. The British and the Australians moved their fleet here that was sitting down here last turn up to Madras. So it can't attack anything next turn, but it's definitely a presence that's going to be heading into the South Pacific. And the first opportunity it has, the British gobbled up of East Africa. They built a transport and a destroyer down here in South Africa, as well as a couple of fighters up here and an armor. They do not have enough to take Tobruk. So rather than playing ping pong for Alexandria, they decided to recoup and build next turn. The British gobbled up all of the Middle East territories, but are the Japanese coming to head towards the Middle East? Time will tell. This territory here in Western Ukraine, which is 2 spaces away from Russia, there's about 56 units there, or 48 Russian or German units mixed, and that does not include the Italians. There's about 5 Italians there, an Italian fighter and an Italian air transport, and 51 Russian units sitting back in Moscow. The Russians are not decided to back up. They are not defending Leningrad. They are not defending Karelia. They don't care about that. They'd rather save their Moscow. They built a couple of units here in Stalingrad. So you're going to see next turn, the Germans are going to be on the border of Orly-Kursk, I would imagine. The British fleet, they are protecting their damaged battleships, which can only move 1. They were sitting in C-Zone 40 last turn, so they're making their way slowly to get repaired. And something else that I've wanted to do in this game for a while, which is to utilize the double air base. So the Germans have an air base in Bordeaux as well as Normandy, and 6 fighters there, which gives them the double scramble. So they now can protect their fleet, which is here. They are building submarines back in Western Germany, and basically a bunch of fast movers to reinforce this pile here in their minor Axis territories. And they don't have much of an air force on the Eastern Front. However, they do have this tactical bomber and Romanian fighter sitting here in Helsinki. And the British, they flew a couple of their Hurricanes back to, oh, these are Spitfires, back to Nova Scotia for the scramble, and they are able to protect their fleet, their Russian fleet, Canadian, British, and American fleet. So this fleet currently is bigger, but it cannot attack this because it's like a multinational force. So a little bit of a standoff here happening, but I've always wanted to do this. So if you want to protect your German fleet, or that's, in my opinion, this is the best way how to do it. So, and the Americans took Mexico and Baja, and they built a transport here. They're going to be heading down to annex Brazil next turn. So a little bit of a repositioning round, and stay tuned for round 5 coming up shortly.